Now, we haven't bugged you about surveys. So the surveys are now live in your app. So for all the sessions that you attended, there's a survey, and we encourage you to fill those out. And just a reminder, 10:40 is the cutoff time for the pictures and the competitions. And without further ado, we'd like to bring the product team up, and Dave Callahan, our CTO.
Yes, we've been talking a lot about the product in its current state, but today we are going to be taking you guys on a rocket ship towards the future. So that's a little insight into what's to come. Welcome, Dave.
All right, how's everybody doing this morning? Good, yeah? First disclaimer, about 90% of this deck was built using AI, including the photo there. That's not actually me. That's actually an AI-generated headshot. You can tell it's the neck's a little longer, and my wife can tell, but so we're gonna have a little bit of fun today. So you're gonna hear a little bit from me, and then this session and the roadmap session following this is largely gonna be my direct team members talking about AI, talking, we're gonna get a little hands-on, we're gonna show some stuff, we're gonna actually ask you to do something for us here. There'll be a little bit of fun in a moment. And then as we get into the roadmap session a little bit later, you'll hear from my product team primarily. But I guess to kick things off, I wanna make sure you're prepared because we're gonna put you on the spot here in a few minutes. How many of you have ever used AI to generate an image before? Like using DALL-E or ChatGPT or something, okay? And we're going to talk about it specifically because we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. So whether you have or haven't, if you have access to it, go to the Bing image creator or ChatGPT. We're going to make you generate some images for us later, at least try. There's a challenge here, and there is money involved. So be ready. I think Matt has a crisp $20 bill in his pocket that I'm going to make him give you. If you can solve our challenge, but what we're gonna see here. So AI, this is a big complex topic, right? So when we look at AI in general, and my clicker's not working, it's taking me back to okay, so here's our agenda for today. So we're gonna do a little bit of an intro, and we're gonna talk a little bit about our strategy as it relates to AI. And a little bit about the industry trends and whatnot. And then we're actually just gonna get hands-on and show some of the stuff that we've been working on across the product line, particularly related to generative AI, of course, but we're gonna talk a little bit about the AI topic and more generally first. So once again, here are my AI-generated slides. This is what ChatGPT thinks we wanna talk about here today, but when you talk about AI has been around as a discipline for a long time, right? I mean, going back into, as early as computing and computers, period. And in general, it's just the idea behind having a computer, having a machine operate like a human being, right? And it covers so many different elements of human cognitive ability, everything from being able to see something and recognize what it is to, voice to text, natural language processing is really big right now, right? To decision making, right? And it can be anything from, when we think about AI, probably 2 years ago, we primarily thought of machine learning and predictive analytics and recommendations and things like that, because that was kind of the hype a few years ago, and has kind of settled in, and it's really confusing, and especially with the big explosion right now in generative AI and natural language processing and large language models. There's a lot there. There's a lot of value. There's a lot of, but it's also confusing, right? What do you do? What do you do with it? How can you use it? Where's it going? Unfortunately, there's no light switch to flip and say, and we hear this, like, what is your AI strategy? What are your plans with Microsoft Copilot, for example, and all these things? And what we see in the industry right now is a lot of people are trying to flip that switch and just, create direct plugins to the Copilot or integrate, ChatGPT and whatnot. And it's a little bit scary, quite frankly. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter what type of AI we're talking about. AI requires good training. It requires solid data. And if you don't have that, a lot of things can go wrong. Now, when we look at generative AI in particular, because that's primarily what we're going to talk about today, largely, OpenAI and GPT, a lot of times you kind of get this big technology and everybody goes, okay, well, gosh, we got a hammer now, right? So let's go find problems to solve with that hammer, and we're over here solving problems with the hammer that may or may not be the right fit, may not work, and gosh, in this case, it'd be better if we had a wrench to a crescent or something to be able to screw this lag bolt in, right, rather than trying to hammer it in. And we'll get into this a little bit more, and we're going to pause here for a minute because this is our money topic right here. Get your Chat GPT ready, DALL-E, wherever you can generate an image using generative AI. And we're going to demonstrate something here. Going back to the light switch, the easy button or whatnot, okay? So the first person who can generate an image of a three-legged stool using any sort of generative AI gets $20. Try it out. Yeah. You got to show us. That's right. And by the way, Matt, oh, we got it right here. Let's take a look at this. That's a lot quicker than we expected. So that's good. Huh? What tool are you using? Chatbox, okay. So funny, nobody else has raised their hand yet. Yeah, and so if you got somebody at your table, if you're not doing it yourself, it's really funny because I was generating some images for a presentation a while ago, and I put in I wanted a picture. The foxes are kind of our internal mascot. So I said, Bill looks up at me, not you, Miles the travel fox. So, and my slide just had a picture of a whiteboard and some writing on it, and I wanted to, I'm a horrible artist, right? So I said, hey, just generate a whiteboard image of a fox for me, make it look like it was drawn. And so it draws this perfect fox in, kind of black and white, and then shows this hairy arm actually drawing it, right? I'm like, okay, remove the arm and make it look like it was drawn by a child, right? The next prompt I got was the exact same picture with a little skinny arm with no hair on it, a child hand drawing. I'm like, okay, you get what you asked for, right? But it actually, I kind of just gave up and left it on. And the other funny thing is, the child actually wrote some text above it saying, "Yake you creature," absolutely nothing nonsensical, right? And that was what I ended up with. And I stuck it in the presentation anyway because it was hilarious. But three-legged stool problem. If you go out and you look at Bing Image Generator or GPT, it's hit and miss. You can get lucky. So we had 3 of us doing this yesterday. We went through probably 50, 60 images before somebody finally said, "Give me a tripod," and it actually gave them a stool that was three-legged. But for some reason it couldn't quite do that. And what we're demonstrating here is the fact that as we start to get into the world of generative AI, there's a whole lot of excitement and hype, and there's also, it's scary, right? So we've had customers, for example, come and ask for, gosh, we just want to be able to use AI to make decisions for our customers and automatically generate configurations and just wire that all up automatically. And I look at our three-legged stool problem here, I'm like, do we really want automatic orders happening that look like this three-legged stool or this "Yake you creature" thing? No, right? So it gets kind of scary. And as we look at that, if we're not careful, we all jump in. We're immersing ourselves in this AI world, and money's flying out the door because we have data protection issues and other things like that. And as you can see here, we generate weird weird thumbs. I don't know why we can't quite generate hands. We got it 50-50 on this one, but it is kind of a scary world. By a show of hands, how many of you use generative AI at work? We'll say GPT in particular. So some of you. By a show of hands, how many of you work for companies that don't allow that or block it entirely? A few of you, okay. And then there are a bunch that aren't using it yet. Gotta get my Topo Chico. Okay, and that's kind of where we're at, right? So I want to talk a little bit about I like the way Gartner lays out the hype cycle for the adoption of new technology. And you know, basically the gist of it is, and you all see this, right? It's AI everything right now. Like everybody wants to use AI to do everything, and some people are scared. You know, is it going to replace my job? And I don't think AI is going to replace my job. I don't think Bill's going to replace me with AI. I think more likely what's going to happen is I'm going to replace myself with AI and just not tell Bill. More realistically, what's going to happen is the way I've heard it, the best way I've heard it said is AI going to replace my job? No. But if you're not careful, somebody who knows how to use AI may replace your job, right? AI is a tool. It's a wonderful tool. And once again, you know, even with the hand here, I could have worked at that a little bit harder and gotten a good, clean hand. It would have taken a few more attempts. But, you know, I think when you look at the hype cycle, kind of where we're at right now, with generative AI and natural language processing, we're still on that rocket ship. We're going up. You know, and we're going to talk about this a little bit as we do some demos and whatnot. But even just looking at ChatGPT, and you know, we're in here and we're building models, and we're kind of fine-tuning models, I should say, and getting to the point where we can do some useful stuff. And the next thing we know, GPT 4.0 is out. Boom. Okay. Now we're switching over, moving everything over, and kind of starting over, right? And things are just moving really fast. And what we expect to happen is kind of what happened with the machine learning and kind of the data science craze, not too long back, is that people invest a lot of money, they get really excited, things kind of fall back down to earth, and then we kind of enter in that plateau of productivity. And there's a star there because, you know, that's where we want to be, right? So we're fully engaged in this in activities here, in building the future, even building some functionality in the products. But the reality is, we want to be right there, and we'll talk about this in a moment. We look at our strategy, and our strategy and our commitment to you is to use AI responsibly, and everything we do, we're looking at not just providing some quick hype and getting everybody excited about something that maybe they can or can't use, but to be able to provide long-term value in a sustainable way. So the things you're going to see today are things that we've started to work through, and we have fairly high confidence in the way we're doing it, that we can carry these forward as the landscape continues to change. Data protection's huge, right? A number of hands up here when we asked about whether you're allowed to use ChatGPT. It's scary, right? Because if you're off prompt training ChatGPT, which if you use ChatGPT at all, it's remembering everything you do, the things you're putting in, and that's going into the public domain, right? If you're using ChatGPT itself, right? And then, of course, safety, reliability. This is the three-legged stool problem, right? You want it to be accurate and reliable and safe from that perspective as well. You don't want AI to be making the decisions for you and then causing problems. I mean, we could pull up a number of news articles that talk about AI failures that have cost companies a lot of money and a lot of time and been pretty impactful. And then, of course, sustainability, making sure that, and this doesn't, I know I got a little picture of watering a plant, but our strategy is to build the technologies that we can continue to build on and use. And then last but not least is back to the hammer and the nail analogy, right? Or in this case, the lag bolt. We're looking at ways to not necessarily use AI and looking to find problems to solve. What we're actually doing is we develop our product lines. We're looking at ways that we can AI enable those so that data is accessible, it's consistent, and we can use that. And we're looking for problems to solve where AI can help. A good example of that we don't talk about a lot, for example, is with Design Studio. As you're typing formulas, we can autocomplete through IntelliSense. And that's been there before, since before the craze here. But we're looking for ways to just make your lives easier through the utilization of AI without doing harm. And last but not least, I want to give a little announcement here. So this is, even internally, we haven't talked about this, but we are forming a new group within our organization. We've actually pulled a few people that have been working on AI from our architecture team individually. But we have a pretty significant investment going into what we're calling Experlogix AI Labs. So today you're going to see some consistency in the way we utilize generative AI across our product line. And we are building a centralized team. And their goal is to kind of get out in the forefront of innovation. And they may be developing some things that, looking at things that don't actually even end up in the product, but they're going to be out there doing the research and making sure we're doing things the right way, that we have consistency, that we have, safety built into, data protection and safety mechanisms built in. And this will represent a pretty significant investment in our product direction. So as we do this, once again, we're looking for consistency. We're looking for, and this team will be primarily focused on generative AI, but not entirely. And when I say not entirely, for example, with Cloud Connect, we're getting to the point where we can store transactional data and be able to apply some recommendation engines and machine learning to that as well. So there will be some element of machine learning and data science to this as well, but primarily focused on generative AI initially. And then last but not least, our strategy is to pick the technologies that solve the problems that we need to solve for you, right? And a lot of times that will be built into the customer ecosystem. So, our platform in the cloud is all built on Azure, so you're going to see a lot of Azure OpenAI because we can protect data there. So when we fine tune and basically add data on top of the GPT models, it's secure and it's safe, protected. But for example, we're looking at other solutions for digital commerce for our SAP customers, for example, right? So we're going to build into the ecosystems and use the tools that make sense in those environments. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Al. And you may have noticed in the intro, Al and AI look identical when you type them out, and it's super confusing. So Al gets a lot of credit for things he doesn't do.
Thank you. Can you see my screen there? If we can go to that, yeah, thank you. So yeah, Jeff just told me that it's Experlogix Al Labs, not AI Labs. And I guess maybe there's some truth to that. So Al Anderson, I'm product manager with Experlogix, and in the essence of time, I'm going to jump right into a demo, as Dave mentioned, of Design Studio. If I can get my mouse here to show up. And announce our AI assistant that we've created with the help of Tyler Ellington and Max Valdez. We've created a couple of AI assistants, and we have two assistants. One is a formula assistant who's an expert in Experlogix formulas. And the other one is a help assistant who's an expert in Design Studio and the Cloud CPQ product itself. So we've got a bunch of prompts here, and let me clear this because I was testing before. We're going to start with the Turbo Formulas Assistant. Thanks. I might lose my voice. The first question is, what function should I use to count values that match a condition? And we're going to go, and what I want to identify here is that early on we identified that the 3.5 turbo results were good, but the 4.0 results were better. So I'm going to send a request to count values to match a condition to the 3.5 turbo assistant, and then I'm going to send the same request to the 4.0 turbo assistant. And I'll expand this and we'll look at the results. And you can see that the 3.5 result identifies COUNTIF as a good usage to match that condition. And the 4.0 result also does the same thing, but provides code examples, functional examples, and an example of counting fruits resulting in 2, as well as a pattern match resulting in a count of 3. So, excuse me. As you can see, the result from the 3.5 is less concise than the 4.0 result. And then I'm going to do the same thing here to explain COUNTIF and provide an example. And then I'll send that same request here to the 4.0 model. And you can see that it describes COUNTIF pretty good. Provides us an example of counting fruits with vegetables, saying that it gets a result of 2. And then the 4.0 model also describes COUNTIF correctly, but provides us with some code examples, as well as some functional examples, and a little more of a description of the, the potato pattern matching result that we get. So I think this is a good example of how 4.0 is better than 3.5, and that's because I've had some problems with my system, and doing the live demos, I have some recordings queued up, so I'm going to switch to those. The first one is, let me get a second to clear my breath. All right, thanks. So this first example is basically to show a complex formula and see if ChatGPT can help us visualize the formula and see what it's doing. So I've sent a request to the assistant, and we can see that the response that we get back is clearer and easier to read, and it provides a description of the formula, breaking down what it's doing into steps. So I'll expand this out a little. So you can see that it's got a pretty good description of what a complex formula is doing, and is able to break that down and simplify it. So this is an example that we've seen in our Gartner Tech demo, where we have a formula called module specs. And what it does is it formats a string and returns a price, or a formatted string with a price in it. So let's look at module specs. And I just ask, what is this formula doing? So you can see the results where it concatenates the string and describes how it's working and provides us an example. Excuse me. Let me go back one. It provided us an example of applying the tech demo ATX code or CPU. All right. So this is an example. We're going to switch to our help assistant. And what should I do if I'm creating a new project in Design Studio? And I think the help assistant does a good job of telling us to create an organization, create a team and a project, assigning a category to series, creating options, and assigning them to models. This is a good example of what are rules used for. A rule has a premise and a conclusion, and is also used to display help messages, suggest additional options, and automatically modify specifications or highlight conditions. This is why would I use a query instead of a table in Design Studio. You could use a query for dynamic retrieval, integration with external systems. This is an example that Kyle had in the design studio demo. How do I display categories in a tab? So this does a good job of telling you how to navigate to groups in Design Studio, adding categories to tabs, as well as an example of how to do that with a bike. This is a really good example that I like. Excuse me. So this is a good example of a fetch XML query. The AI assistant knows about fetch XML and CE. And so I think it does a really good job of telling you how to create a query in Design Studio. Generating a fetch XML statement. With account information, lane address, so in this example, we want to identify how if you want to ship a rule to prevent shipping fish when temperatures are not moderate. And this does a good job of telling us how to create a property, a formula that converts Fahrenheit to Celsius, along with what moderate is, which is between 10 and 25 degrees, and identifies creating a rule to display a message with a friendly message of, did you know that fish can be shipped overnight when temperatures are extreme to ensure their safety and health? An example of that configuration is identified here. And then this is an example of where we want to take data and provide it to the assistant. And what I'm asking for in this scenario is to get 10 fish that are reef-safe, that are the most popular, and 10 that are freshwater fish. And the assistant goes through, or the assistant identifies 10 fish of each. 10 are reef-safe and 10 are freshwater. And instructs how to add those items into Design Studio as categories and options. Okay. Okay, I'm coming back. Thank you for the patience. This is one where my options are getting a little stale. So I've got 8 options in my aquarium sample project. And what I'm asking for is a JSON file with instructions how to update those fish and enrich them with new fun descriptions. So I supply 8 fish to it, and it returns back 8 fish and a JSON file with instructions on how to use the API to update those. So I think the promise that we see there is that we could potentially leverage AI to use the APIs to actually do the request for us, but that would obviously take some kind of human interaction to do. This is an example of doing something similar but we want to use the Design Studio import tool. So we're looking for 15 of the most common reef aquarium fish, and it's instructing us to use a spreadsheet and then generate that spreadsheet or save that spreadsheet as a CSV file and use the Design Studio tool to import it. And I'm going to try to have some fun. Thank you for the patience. This is the same request, but we're asking for an actual CSV file. So we've got 15 fish with fun descriptions that are in a CSV file, along with instructions on how to take that CSV file and save it and import it into Design Studio. And so maybe I shouldn't have gone with a recording there. And thanks for the patience while I climbed up there and froze up. I promise that this will get better and that it's interesting. The key things here, I guess, that we wanted to identify was that we saw a lot of opportunities to enhance our modeling experience through AI. And I think that this example that we created is a good starting point for us to really explore where we're at with AI and what we're doing. So, apologies for the comment, but LP is going to have more fun, I promise.
Morning, everyone. Woo! Yeah! All right, so we have some slides. I'm not sure they are that relevant, so I might switch to my laptop and then just do demos because we're already short in time. I'll be showcasing AI in 2 different products. The first one will be digital commerce. Even though I'm not that familiar with it, I do run the engineering team from it, so we had discussion about how we should integrate it and how it is. And rather than me and Graham switching all the time, we agreed that I would just demo it. So I'll start with the digital commerce demo, and then I'll switch to the great white shark. Some of you have seen already a demo similar to what I'll be showing in a couple of minutes. I tried to tweak it last night, so we'll see how it goes. Since it went well yesterday, I wanted to crash, so I'm trying something a little bit different. I don't know if Gwen is in the room. Is Gwen in the room? Ah, she's not, okay. I hope she looks at the recording, because I might have done her dream. We'll see. Give me 2 minutes. Where's it? I know. We'll keep that for later. So let's start with digital commerce. This is Afix. Some of you might not have seen that. This is the MI, or the management interface. This is where you see your catalog, your products, where you can manage your site. So I'll stick to what I know of this app because I'm not as familiar as I am with document automation. So this is where you have the products. I already filtered. I created a product called Switch. This is the one I'm most comfortable with, but I have another one we'll try after, which I tried last night and was cool. So I created an item in my product catalog called a Nintendo Switch. I'm sure everyone knows what it is or have children who's playing with that. Once we have the product, I can go and edit it. With some research that our product team did in that space, they figured out that about 52 hours a month is spent on creating descriptions for items we have in the product, doing SEO properly, the metadata, the tagging, and all of that. So the idea we have here at Experlogix is to try to limit that amount of hours you'll be spending on your descriptions for items. So we added some AI content generation for description of items. So it looks at what it knows about it. There's a magic wand. So our engineer that did that is really proud of it. So when he watches that video, John, congrats on adding a GIF. It was really nice. And there you go. So we have a full description. It's not a light one. You can see there are headers, there are subheaders with different descriptions to what that look like. So I started from nothing and then get that. So we look, on that one was only the product name, but we can take a look at the existing content we have to do more, to enhance what we have. We can do different things with AI, as you can guess. This is the first version. Customers are not yet using it. We are internally and testing it. We're showing at different events. We did at the SAP event not too long ago. So you might see it in videos on YouTube because we start presenting it more and more. But it's just to show you how quick it can be to get something. Of course, you cannot just take that without looking at it and reviewing it, but it's a way quicker way than just trying to think, okay, what am I writing? It comes up with a format and a structure that you can then enhance once you go there. The other part that's interesting is the SEO part. I'm really not an SEO expert. Miranda would tell you. I know nothing about it. But you can see at the bottom what that page would look like if it got resulted on Google. If I use, again, the magic one right there, and it will automatically, based on the description, the title of the product, comes up with the page title as to what it think it should be. If you do not like what it produces, you can simply click and we will probably get a totally different answer. That's the beauty of AI. So you can play with that, have your own, but it's kind of a quick way to get that. Same thing goes with metadata keywords and metadata description. I am not sure how good they are, as I said. Miranda could tell more about how accurate they are. But it's still kind of a sweet way to do that. So what I tried last night, and I'm not sure someone in the team tried that before. I created Experlogix CPQ as a product. And I went on, edited it, and then created a description to see what it would generate. Because you never know with AI. First time I did not save, it was saying that that was a kind of soap or something. I found it a bit odd and said, this is not good for a demo. But then I realized that I did not save. So, oh, yeah. Woo, it's CPQ, it's not soap. So there's a description of what we do based on what it learned already on the internet. So it's just to show you how cool it is that it learned a lot of things. So this is using GPT-3.5 Turbo. We'll be testing 4.0 in that environment soon just to see if the result gets better. But it's already pretty cool. Same thing, maybe we could replace Miranda, I don't know. But we can create the metadata pages. And then we can create all of that. So I don't know which one are better. We should do some analysis. There's cost saving, Bill. So there's opportunities there. I'm kidding. So, but it's still kind of fun to see that in action. So this is what we have at this point for digital commerce. We have other ideas as to how we can help our customers when they configure their products that will be put in place. Hopefully in 2 years when we do that conference again, you'll see more. But this is what we have at this point for digital commerce. So could you please applause for the team that did that? Yeah, thank you. All right, great white shark. Many people ask, so I said, why not? Even though yesterday I said, Bill's not in the room, I'll do it. Now he's there, but anyway. We'll see on my review, I guess. Yeah, so okay, before I go into forms, let's go into content. So there are two things I will demo. This is the same thing I did yesterday. I'm sorry for those that already saw it. We use AI to do translation of documents. This is not a simple translation like you would have with Google Translate, for example. And the reason is that it does an analysis on the content of the document. We'll do some categorization as to what type of file that is, what is the content, what it looks like. Then we'll apply translation on top of it with words that are relevant. Interestingly, I had the same question coming by a couple of you, which is an excellent question, is do you support to have a glossary? Glossary means that you would like to be more specific as to how you do translation. So there are certain words in your field that needs to be translated in that way, whether it's in Dutch, Italian, or other languages. Yes, we do have support for that. It's in the backend for now. We did not have it. We do not have it in the UI yet. It will be there. I don't have an ETA on it, but it's already in the backend, so we will support glossaries for those that ask. The way it works is kind of simple. You just click on the file that you'd like to translate. You click Translate. Then you're presented with a drop-down to select your language. The reason we have project languages and then available languages is that we support a lot of languages. A lot of them, as you can guess, I do not speak. I only speak English and French, so I cannot validate the output of those. But we have project languages. This is baked in SmartFlows. We did the same thing with Great White Shark. So when you create your project, you can create preset of languages that you want your project to support. So if you know you'll be handling 2, 3, or 5 language, you can add those. And then we prioritize those at the top because we know that this is probably those that you'll be using the most. And then we show the other ones at the bottom if ever you need them. The document, I did not show it to you. This is a document from a recruiting firm that we looked at. There's no sensitive information in it whatsoever. Hopefully, yeah, okay, there you go. So this is in French. It was a company from Quebec. This was for us. The name is Recruit. She sent that out, and I'm not kidding. When she sent it out, it was in French, and that was sent out to Brady. Brady being our HR person, loves French, but does not speak it. So he asked her, could we have a translation? I said, hold on. So I just took the file, put it inside our content manager, went there, and then did the translation. I already did it yesterday, so you'll see that it should be pretty quick. Yeah, okay. So this is fake. The reason it does that is that when you ask a translation for a version, we cache it, so that we save on costs for you and for us on how we do translations, because there's some high cost when we use AI. So because I did the same translation yesterday, it cached that version. If I were to just go on the file and edit something in that file, I could probably do it. So I'll showcase Whoopi at the same time. So I don't know if you realized earlier, when I click on the file, I went to the browser. That's because we are a Microsoft cloud service provider now. It's been a week, but we're proud of it. So if I modify that file, you can see that it saved back the file. If I go there and I ask for the exact same translation in English, so that it's meaningful for everyone here, you will see that that will take longer, because now it takes the new version of the file with modification. We'll send that on the back end. We'll apply some AI for categorization. We'll apply translation, reformat the document, and then that comes back. It does not only work with Word, it works with PDF, PowerPoint, Excel. I have to say that PDFs are a bit trickier because this is meant to be a printing format. If it needs to relay out because the text gets longer, you can get some weird result, but it's still better than not understanding the language into which the document is at. It does the same thing it did yesterday. I don't know why. The first translation took a while for those that were in my session. The other one took about 10 seconds, which is what I'm used to. Maybe I'm waking up the service, but anyway, I won't have you waiting because we don't have much time. So I'll go to, oh, it did it. Okay. So I have the new translation, which should be similar to the other because I just added some garbage there. But all right. Let's do a more tricky demo. So this one is more risky. Unlike Al, I'm not prepared. I'm more of a YOLO guy. So we'll see how that goes. Demo yesterday went pretty well, so I thought I'll try to crank it up a little bit. So I had dinner yesterday with our friend from AGS. Gwen was on the table, and I had 2 requests. Well, 2 requests. One, I asked and I got an answer, which was from AGS. I asked, what type of form should I be building? Because usually I'm comfortable using the used car demo. I've been doing it for a month, just practicing for that for here, and I did the demo to the company 2 weeks ago. So I'm quite comfortable, so I said, why not try something else, right? So AGS told me, do a form for slot machines. I know nothing about slot machines. So I tried it yesterday, seems to work. You might say that it is relevant, not relevant. We'll try it and see if that works. The other request we got from Gwen was that her dream, it was for CPQ, it was not for DA, but her dream was to talk to the AI, and then she would get an answer. So I said, let's try it. So I practiced it in my room. Of course, it was not in a big room like that. So we'll see if it works out. So I created a form. It's an empty form. I just don't want to type in front of you and you lose your time. So it's a slot machine order form. I will go into design. And what you can see is that I can click AI assistant. By doing so, we're fetching suggestions. Suggestions are based on the name and descriptions of the form that I'm currently editing. For those that have never seen forms before, it's really just drag and drop. I can go there, then I have a text field. It will refresh suggestions now. Wait, okay. So I can do a preview, and this is what would be rendered. So it's for data input. We can have conditionals, we can hide, show sections, we can have grids, we can have multiple things in those forms. It is quite flexible. But drag and drop, even though it was really quick, asking someone to do it for you is even better. Or not someone, something. So let's see what we have here. I can have suggestions. I can generate multiple suggestions. We'll see what it comes with. I don't like what is... yeah, okay, that one is fine. So I can click on the suggestions, and then it will just add it at the bottom. I could type it in, and then it will do it. So I'll do this one, which says create a section for customer details, including name, email, and phone number. And just the way this is wording out, there's a chance that we get something we did not get yesterday we would get. So if we generate, okay, if it generates a form that is invalid, we treat that and we'll say, oops, something went wrong, so we might want to try. Even though it's doing that, we're able to see what it generated and edit it. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay. And we notice that very often when it creates a panel, which is some type of controls we have in the forms, it will not create a key, and the key is mandatory. And the reason is that the documentation does not state that the key is mandatory. So it was not trained properly. So you tell them, could you add a key? And then it does, and everything's fine. So we're working on it to fine-tune a model. But anyway, so I have the preview. If I apply, you can see. So I did not do anything. The form now has a name, email, phone number. I can go in preview. I can validate those. You can see if I remove, I have validation that happens. So all of that just by asking the AI to generate that form. Can we clap? This is cool, right? Thank you. I did not force it, you did? That's fine. Okay, so the other thing I'll do is similar to what I did yesterday, but with slot machines, and I'll try to use voice to do it. So I should probably have brought water, but anyway. Let's try to do it. So I'll open the mic and see if it will listen to what I'm saying. Create a grid to order slot machines. The grid will have 4 columns, the first one being the type, the second one being the quantity, the third one being the price, and the fourth one being the total. The total will be a read-only text field that will represent the price times quantity of that row. All right, I won't even read it. Let's send it and see what comes out of it. It sounded right, huh? Yeah. You can see it's struggling a little bit more than adding 3 field, right? So hopefully that works. It did yesterday, so okay. Sure, I'll create a grid for ordering well. Do I trust it? We'll see. Let's do a preview. Okay, so those that were in my session yesterday, this is what I was expecting, because this is not what I got yesterday. Even though it was working, it was an edit grid. This is a data grid. This is more like Excel, so I can go there and type what this is. There's a quantity. I don't know if calculations will work. They did not. Let me see why. I think I know why. But yesterday I got something different, so it got me off guard. I could ask the AI to fix it, but I think I know what it did. Again, it has to do with the documentation. Yeah, it did data. That should be row instead of data. So I'm sorry. We're still training it. If I try it again, and I do 5 times 5, you can see that it does a calculation on it. So I'm happy with what I have there. I can apply. Can go into preview. I have the same grid that is there. I can add multiple items. It added automatically validations for quantity and price, which is fine. So let's try to ask him to do something else. That's the AI, so I'll ask it with voice again just for Gwen, even though she's not here. Update the type in the grid to be a drop-down instead of a text box, and come up with 5 fun names of slot machines. So let's see if it can actually know more than I do about slot machine and with names of them. So you can see all of that. I could do that by drag and dropping, updating, but it takes longer. We could call services to update, but it's still way quicker than what it does there. I don't have a lot of time left. One of the things I did with the used car that kind of surprised me is, you know, you have that make, the model, the years, and everything. So the first one I did was trade a drop down for the years from 2025 to 1994. It just did it. It worked. The other one I said is, for the maker, would it be possible to have a list of makers? And it came up with a list of 10 makers, which was pretty cool. And then I said, could you call an API to list all the makers that would be available? And it did it. It called an API I never heard of. It just knew about it in the internet, configured my form, made the REST call. The problem I had is that my dropdown had about 1,000 items, because there are a lot of makers that are not known to us, but they still make automobile, but they were returned. But it was quite impressive that it did something I didn't even know and didn't even thought about, so it was cool. So it says it updated the form. Let's see, okay. Let's apply it and try it, and then we'll see if that works. So we have Lucky Sevens, Jackpot, Junction, Mystic Fortune, Treasure Trove, Wild Spin. Would that be a good name? Hey, Jess? Yeah. A what? Oh, yeah? Okay, it's a competitor. Oh, sorry. So I think I'm up with my time, but just give you a quick glimpse as to what we're doing. I did a little bit more yesterday. Another thing we do is that based on that form, then we can go into Word. We use Copilot to generate our templates so that you don't need to type all the text. We can actually generate that content in Microsoft Word automatically for you. Based on the form that was generated, you just ask it and it comes with the data. And then you can just map your fields, which is way more efficient for our user. So I'm really looking forward users using that more and learn from it, look at prompts and what ideas people come up with. But yeah, this is what I had for you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. Now, in order to mitigate the risk of my job being replaced by AI, as LP so kindly insinuated, I went ahead and decided that I was going to be one of those people that leveraged AI. So I asked ChatGPT how to introduce this next session, and for whatever reason, I got an image of a three-legged stool. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring Matt Maservi up on stage. He's gonna go over our product roadmap and explain a little bit about what we've done, what's in the works, and what lies ahead for our 3 products. I believe he'll be bringing up some special guests or some friends with him as well. So without further ado, give Matt a warm welcome.
It's always a little scary plugging into these things because you don't know what's going to happen. I also don't know where the slide changer is, so we're going to, oh, here. See, I've already lost interest. I've already lost interest in this technology. Okay, my name is Matt Maservi, and welcome to the product roadmap session today. I am with Experlogix, and welcome to the last session of the conference, the last technical session. Congratulations, you guys made it. Years ago, I was a relatively high-level athlete. It's hard to tell from the pear-shaped dancer, of course. And I come to these conferences, and it's always exciting to see everybody, and it's exciting to meet and interact, but I'm always more tired after these conferences than I ever was after those. They're really draining. So congratulations on making it. It's been a long haul, but it's been really, really great. I wanted to close the loop on the last session, and here's the image that we got for the three-legged stool. We're going to talk a little bit more about AI as we talk about the roadmap. But the problem with this is, and where that challenge came from, was us trying to explain, and this relates to the roadmap, I promise. We were trying to explain to people kind of how it takes three different disciplines to get good product out the door. You've got to have a product manager who understands and loves the problem. You've got to have UX designers who understand what it looks like to you guys, and you have to have engineers who understand how to solve that. And I was trying to illustrate that, and I kept asking for three-legged stools, and this is what I got back with, and this was a long process. I find myself getting in these existential arguments with the AI. And it's really frustrating because I will start yelling at it like a teenager. I ask, do you even know what 3 means? Yes, I know what 3 means. And it gives me an image of a stool with 4 legs again. And it says, it apologizes to me. I'm really sorry for your frustration. I fixed it. Here it is, right? And we're learning quickly that AI, it's like a teenager. They think they know everything. They don't. You often have to manage them pretty closely. But as we continue to make our platform smarter and smarter, we have to be careful we want to do it in the right way. So I wanted to close the loop on that, but congratulations I still will maintain that is a 3-legged stool. I couldn't sit on that. That would explode. I have a long history of collapsing chairs, if it's not obvious. All right, let's jump into the roadmap. We're going to be moving pretty fast through this. I'm scared to turn this on. I want to wander around a little bit. First, before we go, I want everybody to see the R&D team. So if you're on the R&D team for Experlogix, stand up, please. Anybody who's in QA, engineering, UX. I was going to ask you to applaud. I'm glad you figured that out. This team works so incredibly hard to deliver the things that help make your lives better. And I just wanted to thank them for the hard work they do. And as they continue to drive these products into the future, it's an incredibly dedicated team of professionals. Unfortunately, one of the people on this slide, Peter Willemse, is unable to be with us today, and we regret that. His wife had a minor medical procedure last week, and as bad as he wanted to come, he felt like it probably wasn't safe to leave his wife alone with the kids for a week while she was trying to recuperate. So Peter is unable to be with us. I drew the short straw to step in and replace him, so we'll soldier on without him, but we sure miss Peter, and he'll be back with us pretty quickly. My favorite part of the presentation, by the way, I have a famous fear of commitment, and I want everybody to understand this is a pathological fear of commitment as a product manager and as a man. Sort of built in. These are things we intend to do right now based on the market and based on the strategy. These things change. Every time I give a roadmap presentation, and it's in the tens of thousands now, I always see the cameras come up when the roadmap comes up. I would like you to, if you're going to take pictures, take a picture of this. Because at some point you're going to come back to the product team and say, wait a sec, it said on the end, we're going to say, remember the disclaimer part of that? Things change, obviously, so just understand. Okay, I don't like to not know who I'm talking to. So just a real quick poll, show of hands. Who's here, and it doesn't mean you have to be using it, you're just interested in it. Who's here for CPQ or involved in CPQ? Okay, great, majority. Document automation, okay? A few. CPQ and document automation together. Great. Digital commerce. A few, good, yeah, more interest. Good, Dave is very interested in digital commerce over here. I'm surprised Graham didn't stick his hand up. I was pretty sure I'd get some interest from Graham over there, the guy who built it. We'll talk about that later. Okay, I'm curious about industries. One of the most fascinating things, as I've met and talked to lots of you, is the breadth of your industries, what you guys are doing. I got all excited last night. I was sitting next to someone at dinner who said Okuma on his badge, and I was like, that guy makes sick fly fishing reels. And then I was disappointed. I found out later it's a different Okuma. So we're going to talk to him. Apparently there's a parent company, so we need to talk. But it's interesting because most software tends to sit in certain verticals. And man, I've talked to people that make tractors and whatever the fake Okuma does. It's not fishing reels, but whatever Okuma does. And piping and medical devices. And it's crazy the breadth of what you guys are offering. So who's in retail? Hands. Manufacturing. Okay, heavy in the manufacturing space. Who's in tech? Okay, that's interesting. We could go for 20 minutes on just tech alone. Anybody in healthcare? Okay, that's a little bit of a surprise, more than I expected. Who's in telecom? Any kind of communications? Nobody, that's kind of a surprise, okay? I kind of expected the guy from Walmart that tries to sell me a cell phone every time I go by him here. Financial, any kind of financial, banking. Okay, that's not a huge surprise. What about automotive? Anything in automotive? That's probably part of manufacturing, okay? E-commerce. Interestingly enough, AI thinks consulting is a huge piece for CPQ. Anybody in consulting? Okay, anybody in the energy sector? Yeah, that tends to be backline, so that doesn't surprise me. Okay, super interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the future. So just for point of education, in the product world, there's sort of three levels. There's the key industry trends, the drivers. These are the things, these are your customers. These are what your customers are asking for. These are the problems, and they drive you, and you guys drive the market, and the market drives us. That tends to consolidate down into what we'll call areas of product focus, things we're interested in. And those translate into the features, the individual features. So we're going to talk a little bit about key strategic drivers, areas of focus. Then we'll have Aaron and Louis, and I think Graham is going to handle the individual features. These are kind of the things we're seeing day to day. Obviously, first is performance and scalability. We have an increasing demand, and we see ever-increasing demand for performance and scalability. This is due to a variety of factors. The first two bullets kind of play together. As the infrastructure becomes more separated and it moves to the cloud, and as you get more and more vendors in more and more places, and as some vendors come online and others go offline because of supply chain issues, people always want faster. It was funny to me, one of the first computers I bought had a turbo button. Do you guys remember computers with the turbo button? And I saw that and I'm like, what kind of idiot puts a turbo button? Why wouldn't you have the turbo button in? Like, who reaches down and is like, I want my computer to be slower. Click, turns out. So performance and scalability requirements are increasing very quickly. Cloud infrastructure is kind of an answer to that. Cloud infrastructure is interesting. This feels to me like an old word. Who was here for the advent of cloud? Hands. Like, do you guys remember that? And it was funny because I would talk to companies and their servers like locked in a box with an IT guy guarding it, he's looking around, nobody to touch. And all they could say is cloud. We're in the middle of the cloud now. We're past the hype cycle. We are in a world where data needs to be spread geographically. We need to be able to quickly address certain parts of the system. We're shuttling data back and forth between systems all over the place. The ability to integrate and interoperate with various systems is incredibly important. So the benefits of the cloud infrastructure, they're unavoidable. It's happening. And so we're seeing this constant push to the cloud to integrate with different systems. There were multiple sessions on Cloud Connect, which I hope you were able to take advantage of, because the ease of deployment, the maintenance, the security, and the cost in the cloud infrastructure. So that's something we see just ongoing. We've talked a lot about AI, but what that really means in the industry is we want more intelligent systems. We want low-code systems. We want systems that are easier to use, that are more self-serving. That's something we hear from customers all the time. You see this probably most directly in your own employees. It's funny, I talk to people, I'm like, oh, who are you from, and what do you guys do? Do you make fishing reels? No, that's too bad. How many people are on your team? And they're like, I'm the team. Nobody else knows anything about it. First, they made me do it, now I don't let anyone touch it. But if that guy quits, wins the lottery, heaven forbid, decides to become a YouTuber, whatever, all that information goes out the door. So having systems that capture and retain that knowledge and are more self-serving, super important in the market. The next three we're going to talk about kind of together. We see an increased complexity of portfolio. Does anybody have a more simple portfolio than they did a couple years ago? Chuckles. Yeah. Nobody wants less. Nobody wants to push the turbo button and have less performance or less options. Portfolios are incredibly complex. Customers want more and more customization. They want a hyper-personalized experience. And you guys know the better you can match the customer's needs and the quicker you can get through that process, the quicker your close rates are, the higher your close rates are. Who's got teenagers? Yeah? How long's their attention span? I've got a couple of them, it's about 8 seconds. It's like talking to gnats on crack. If you don't spit it out, they just wander off, or they're on TikTok. That's your buyer. That's it. You got to get them their data. It's got to match exactly what they need, and you got to be able to let them close the deal because they'll lose interest quick. So hyper-personalization, the omni-channel sales, the ability to engage with the system in the same way, whether they're on a mobile device, a desktop, whether a phone call tells them an order is shipped, we're seeing this increasing demand to make it a more usable system, make it look and feel the same no matter how I choose to engage with the system. So these are kind of the key drivers that we're seeing in the industry. How does that translate into product? You're going to see some areas of focus for us over the next 12 to 18 months. It doesn't mean that if it's not in one of these buckets, it doesn't happen. It just means that when we look and say, how do we spend our resources, if it's not in one of these buckets, there's got to be a pretty good reason for it. We talked about scalability, performance, and quality. This means lots of things. It probably means more things than you realize. It's things like, we've got Jeff Picaro over here, who's done a ton of work over the last couple of years to improve the way we do QA and deployment. So we deploy more regularly, and we have more testing automation. It's things like cloud ecosystem and architecture that makes for more resilient systems. It's things like Cloud Connect that make integrations easier without doing custom integrations. It's lots of things. But scalability, performance, and quality are a huge driver for us, and you're going to continue to see both the product you're using today, but also as you start to migrate into cloud CPQ in the future, as you move along, you're going to see an increased focus on this. I like the second bucket, operational efficiency, because I can defend anything in that bucket. It's pretty broad and hard to kind of define. He knows. Operational efficiency really kind of means a few things. It means an easier, better system to use. It could loosely be translated into things like, low code, like a little bit easier to get data out, a system that doesn't require custom development to do integrations. Cloud Connect gives us the ability to connect out of the box with lots of different things. It's more flexible integrations. It's retaining knowledge inside, even tying AI chat into your documentation so you can get data quickly. It's those kinds of things. So operational efficiency is something we're driving towards, especially as we combine the products and we get them closer together. One of the things that's interesting is, as we saw in the poll, a lot of you care about CPQ and DA, and some of you care about digital commerce. We have these end-to-end solutions. You may have problems today that you're solving, but you've got other problems you haven't started yet, and we want everybody to be aware we've got this full spectrum of products. And so efficiency as those things work together is important to us. And then the last one is, last but not least, for Brad and the UX team in here, usability, right? We talked about the teenagers. Those are your future buyers. It's got to be pretty easy to use. It's got to be pretty intuitive. So things like a more intelligent system that guides you. LP's demo was fantastic. I don't know how to build a form, but I could use that AI to build a form. I could do that. That's not a big deal. And so usability and helping you solve problems quicker so you can get to our customers is a huge drive for us. So those are kind of the 3 areas of product focus you're going to see over the next couple of years. And with that, let me transition to, let's talk about the individual roadmaps. So I'm going to turn the time over to, I think, our technical fellow chief architect, Aaron Zapancic, to talk about CPQ for the next 10 minutes or so. I still haven't figured out the mobile mic. Do you want me to figure this out, or do you want to stay here?
I'll stay here.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Elevate. Oh, no, this is the end. Well, unlike the disclaimer that Matt made at the beginning, everything that I'm going to show you is guaranteed to be shipped. It's promised, and we're definitely delivering every aspect of it. That's not entirely true, of course. But what I want to talk about are some of the most exciting and innovative things that we're doing within the CPQ space. I'm actually going to steer clear of some of the topics that we're doing in the cloud CPQ space. I know we're talking a lot at this conference about Cloud Connect, Design Studio, Admin Center, and other tools that we have that are pioneering new frontiers for us. But a lot of the things that we're doing in CPQ are still blending the landscape between what we deliver today, what we're going to be delivering tomorrow, and providing the CPQ functionality that you expect within your business. So to talk about, I'm not going to drill into every single one of these bullet points today, but what we're really looking forward to doing as we get into some of the next quarters is really strengthening the integration that we have between CPQ and DA. We have a very strong offering as it is right now that provides a capability to present what we internally, just simplistically, and it kind of undersells it, call a report. It's kind of a capability from within CPQ to launch an automated document, generate a PDF, render it to the user based off of CPQ data. And we're going to be taking that beyond what we provide today and actually have the smart forms with interaction and workflow and approvals and signings and all of those things integrated within that experience to provide a more full end-to-end CPQ experience with DA. And that's something that's already in progress. We're already working on asynchronizing the system, as it were. We've provided a lot of capability within the platform to have routines that are running and saving and persisting and loading information to the back-end systems, but doing it in a way that is seamless to the user and doesn't interrupt their flow. You may find that you sit and wait a lot of times for things to be processing on the back end. And we've already been making some great strides within our services. If you visited my session yesterday, I know that we talked about that to some degree, but we're also extending that beyond just the services into some of the integrations that we have so that your users are waiting less and able to get on with their work while things are still running in the background. One of the most exciting things, this actually does touch on the cloud CPQ space, and it's part of our Cloud Connect offering, is this concept that we call standard queries. Standard queries provides a unified way to express queries across the ecosystem, irrespective of the host system that you're integrating with. So whether you're targeting CPQ, whether you're targeting dynamic CE, or if you're targeting F&O, or you're targeting BC, or you're targeting any other platform, a standard query provides a unified way to express what you want to get, the criteria you want to express within that, and it does the translation behind the scene automatically to something that is native to that environment, whether that's a fetch XML query, or if it's a SQL query because you're going against an F&O environment, or something else behind the scenes. And so that makes it so that you don't have to have a query that's written in fetch XML and then you move to another platform and you find that that query doesn't work. And you want to be able to use that in an F&O environment and still talk native to that platform. So a standard query gives you that unified, one-size-fits-all kind of approach to modeling. Thank you. Some of the things that Matt mentioned earlier are really ring true within the CPQ space, and we want to make the platform more self-service. I mentioned yesterday in my talk as well that, and you guys experience this I'm sure on a day-to-day basis, is the CPQ system does tend to be somewhat black box, right? You build up your models and you set up all your calculations and all of your formulas and you publish and you hope it works. And if something goes wrong, you really have a hard time tearing it apart and trying to figure out what's really happening under the covers to know how to fix it or how to address it. And so we're really taking that message to heart and trying to put tools in your fingertips that will make it easier for you to understand the innards of the system and to diagnose and fix problems. So self-service is a huge part of what we do in the CPQ space today. And I'm actually pleased to talk about, I gave some demos briefly yesterday, but we'll be showcasing this a lot more as we get into the next couple of months. The two tools that we have that are on the cusp of being ready for your use. One of those is the dependency analyzer and the other is the log analyzer. And these tools allow you to take your model and tear it apart and understand all of the cascading dependencies that you have within the system. Oftentimes we'll get a report from you that something isn't working right. You're not expecting this property to have a value that it's having, and why is it getting that value? And the dependency analyzer lets you look at that property and backtrace all of the things that influence it and look at it at every single level and figure out all of the things that feed into it. And you can also flip that on its head and find out what are all the things that this property influences. And there's a lot more. I wish I had plenty of time to talk about it because this is actually one of my most favorite things that we're doing right now that I want to show. But the log analysis and log analyzer is something that we have completely overhauled. And we're making it so that the logging subsystem within the application does not impact the performance of the application whatsoever. And actually provides, thank you. It's a huge thing that we want to have addressed. And this is something that we've really taken to heart. So that's actually something that we're going to be delivering very imminently. We have some other very exciting things coming as well as we look beyond just the next quarter, specifically around key pain points that you may be experiencing today around publishing and also around being able to reliably test your models and your configurations. So we have an initiative around test and automation framework, as it's called here. This will allow for you to be able to set up scripts and routine, repeatable patterns that you can test against your model as you're developing it and as you're expanding on it, to know that you're not breaking the functionality that you expect to be delivering when you publish. You don't want to be publishing in production, especially not production, but you don't want to be publishing to an environment and have something take a reversal and then have to figure out how to fix that at an 11th hour. And so this framework will allow for being able to test and verify your models even before you put it in your users' hands, to verify that things are working properly. So. I'm going to, I know if I keep going, I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to actually cut myself short. And I think, is it LP or is it Graham? LP? All right, I'll turn the timer to you. Thanks very much, Aaron. Yep.
Okay, me again. So for document automation, we have a lot of things going on. I did not put everything here. As Aaron was saying, we tried to keep it short. I might be talking about things that are not definitely here. The reason is I don't want you to take a picture and then come back, as Matt was saying. We can speak about them because we have real discussions. Some of them already have POCs. But I'll go through a couple of them and then maybe share a couple more. So the one that we're currently working on, which will be solving an issue we have right now, is the plugin for Experlogix CPQ, but with Cloud Connect. So as Matt was explaining, Cloud Connect is that way to simplify queries, and then we have one query length. It's Aaron that was saying it, but we have one type of way to query all our systems. So it's regardless of whether it's a CE, Salesforce, FNO, BC, we don't care. We have that language that we use to query those systems. The idea we had lately is that we needed to have a better integration between DA and CPQ, and then we were thinking, why don't we just add that into Cloud Connect so that CPQ becomes that new host system for document automation? So the way we will query CPQ is the exact same way as we will query BC, as we will query CE, as we will query all of these other systems when we'll be using Cloud Connect. So having that kind of abstraction layer in between should make things a lot faster and quicker to implement these whole systems across all our systems moving forward. So we're actually working on that one. We have our Belgium team working with the Netherlands team. Cloud Connect is built in the Netherlands. SmartFlows is built in Belgium. They are working together, having regular meetings. One team go and see the other. It's about 2 hours and a half drive, but still weekly or bi-weekly, they go and see each other, which is nice to see. One of the things that we're doing now is that Great White Shark will be generally available to all our customers. So we're already in a preview. As I said, we had about 10 customers using it that we're monitoring. I say we're monitoring because we don't hear anything, so I thought maybe they are not using it. It's actually that even though we told them not to use it in prod, they are. So anyway, I guess it's a good thing. But it will be generally available. What that means is that our support team is being trained, the documentation is being written, so by the end of the month we'll be able to actually sell it. And the idea is that we will stop selling forms or content management within Experlogix portal to try to limit the legacy product that we still have and try to move everyone to Great White Shark. It will have the datasets and content manager. It will have the AI I just showed. We're still figuring out how we're going to price that. It's a bit of a challenge, I won't lie to you, but we'll figure something out. So most of what I demoed will be available by the end of the month for you that want to try it or already have a license for document automation. Then for the end of the year, some of the things we're looking at is integration through Business Central. Again, we're doing it with Cloud Connect. So since we should have made the CPQ Cloud Connect integration, doing Business Central should be quite easy. There's one key aspect that Cloud Connect does not cover is the integration in the host system itself. So having that button that allows you to trigger. So this is something that will be worked on in Q4 because everything else should be quite similar to what we already did with CPQ. So we don't expect that to take a lot of time. So the focus will be on integration inside Business Central. One of the things I did not discuss, I think, this week yet is the idea of having PDF templates. So our current designer for templates is Word, which makes it really flexible. We do have a couple of customers, mainly in governments, that have thousands and thousands of fillable PDFs that they have, and then they send those to their customers, and then they need to fill them in. Sometimes they already have the data for their customers, so they actually ask their employees to fill those manually for them by copy-pasting, which is super error-prone, and I hate it. So something that we'll be working on in Q4 is having PDF templates. It means that you can just set your fillable PDF, will detect all the fields that you can have there, and have the same flexibility or functionality you see today with data sets where you can map your field. You will be able to map them into the PDF and then execute them at a super high volume. Performance is awesome with the tests we've done so far. We already have the engine for execution of it. Now we need to work on the UI and how we're actually going to do the mapping. But it's nice to see that working. PowerFX being a language that Microsoft came up with for the Power Platform. Rather than inventing our own language or trying to add something where we want to use PowerFX. So the pseudo-field formulas, the filtering, everything should be using PowerFX as a language. It also means that it makes it a lot easier with AI because the current LLMs are already trained knowing PowerFX. So we've already tested that. It means that it should be really quick for us to be able to add an AI to write those pseudo fields or queries that you would have within your templates right from our interface. So that's pretty nice. And then the content manager step is that we will make, as I said, content manager available to customers by the end of the month. That being said, SmartFlows does not today have the ability to send to content manager. This is something that we've worked on in Q4. So you'll be able to say, I generated my document, I want it to be stored inside content manager. And some of the features that are nice is that you can create a share, so you can send a link so that people can see that document even though they're not a user within Great White Shark. You can send that externally. Going with that later, so 2025 plus, but it goes with the share, is that we're adding the ability to have statistics on a file that you either shared or open. So if you create a share and send a link to a customer, and you send them an invoice, or you send them a quote, or you send them something, you will have the ability within Great White Shark to have metrics as to, okay, that customer opened that document 3 times the last week, so he must be serious about it. He went from page 1 to 4, spent 2 minutes on page 4. So we want to add some metrics so that you can actually help people interact with what you produced. So we're putting everything in place now so that in 2025 and moving forward, we can add those metrics to documents that we share with customers. And most of the rest that is there for 2025 is to move forward with Great White Shark so that all the existing features we have are brought up into Great White Shark so that this becomes a one product for Experlogix. It will not be Great White Shark, it will have another name, but this will be the one product for everything that is documents within the company. And this is what will be used by CPQ and digital commerce for assets management so that we have one way of doing things rather than doing the same things differently as we do today. So this is something we're really working on. I feel like over the last 6 months, we made lots of progress working cross teams. This is something that's been kind of a challenge since we joined Experlogix. We kept saying we were one team. We were not really. We were all in the same company, but I did not feel that kind of enthusiasm in working together as a team. I see it more and more, and people asking questions, how did you actually implement that and have actual meeting? And okay, maybe I should see that. This is some kind of interaction I had with Tyler. So Tyler in the room here is the one that built the AI demo that Al was showing. And then I showed what we did with DA, and was like, okay, we need to meet and have questions, and then could you show me how you did it? I shared him the code, and then it's not the same, but still we share more, so that should move things a lot faster. So again, you can read what is there. I won't go through that because I know we're short on time, but this is what we're aiming for. I'm really looking forward that new product that we're working on, Great White Shark, is looking really, really good. Not from a UX or UI, but the way it's being shaped and the performance-wise. We have customers already that have 40 million documents on our previous platform. They struggle with filtering, for example. So with security, they have documents that might take 30 seconds for them to return these documents. We already proved